Sometime around 9 a.m. this morning, Russian soldiers from the 29th Corps lined up to meet with Corps Commander Ole Moiseev at the training grounds near the occupied Trudivska village near Volnovakha. Ukrainian forces conducted a significant operation targeting a military training area where Russian troops were stationed in the Volnovakha region of Donetsk Oblast. With the firing of 2 HIMARS missiles, heavy casualties were reported in the area. Gumenyuk, spokesperson for Ukraine's Southern Operation Command, stated, "The operation was carried out quite effectively. At least 60 occupiers will certainly not return to combat positions." The governor of the region where the brigade is located dismissed this information as fake, but promised assistance to the families of the soldiers. On Thursday, Ukraine announced that its forces had struck a Russian training ground on the banks of the Dnipro River in the southern Kherson region, occupied by Russia, resulting in the deaths or injuries of dozens of soldiers. Military spokesperson Natalia Gumenyuk stated on television that the incident occurred on Wednesday, targeting an area where Russian stormtroops were conducting training. She later told AFP that 3 strikes hit a training ground near Podokaliivka village, incapacitating or seriously injuring about 60 Russian soldiers. The incident followed Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu's announcement on Tuesday that Moscow forces had regained control of the Ukrainian bridgehead around the village of Krinky on the Moscow-occupied banks of the Dnipro River. The attack is stated to be part of Ukraine's efforts to protect its security and sovereignty. Targeting the Russian training ground in the Volnovakha region is interpreted as a clear message against Russia's military activities in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials emphasize their determination to fight against Russia-backed separatist forces. However, it remains uncertain how Russia will react to this attack. This conflict in Volnovakha may further escalate tensions in Ukraine's relations with Russia and lead to an intensification of military presence in the region. While the international community closely monitors these developments, concerns are raised about how the crisis will be resolved. Ukraine's attack on the Russian training ground near Volnovakha increases tension in the region and could deepen the conflict between the parties. International diplomatic efforts are crucial for reducing tension and finding a peaceful solution. However, at this time, it will be necessary to wait and see how the situation in the region unfolds before more details about the attack in Volnovakha emerge and before further conflict arises between the parties. The sudden and severe attack by Ukraine has caused a great uproar in Russia. Under Putin's leadership, the Russian government has reacted strongly. While serious debates are underway regarding the impact of military losses on Russia's Ukraine policy, the increasing calls for Putin's resignation reflect criticisms of Russia's military presence and foreign policy in Ukraine. Under Putin's leadership, Russia's policy in Ukraine is increasingly being scrutinized both domestically and internationally. Ukraine's attack has sparked great concern and anger among the Russian people. Criticisms directed at the Kremlin under Putin's leadership have led to a political crisis in the country, with demands for transparency and accountability regarding the government's Ukraine policy and military intervention. While Putin's response to calls for resignation remains uncertain, the future of Russia's Ukraine policy and military presence remains uncertain. The international community is urging dialogue and compromise to reduce tensions and find a peaceful solution in the region. However, without clear signs of Putin's resignation and changes in Russia's Ukraine policy, the risk of further escalation of the conflict and increased tension in the region persists. Therefore, the efforts of the international community must continue urgently and decisively to resolve the crisis in the region. It should also be remembered that Russia's military presence in Ukraine is a sensitive issue in terms of the international community, especially NATO. Such attacks could escalate international pressure on Russia's Ukraine policy and its influence in the region. Putin is presumed to closely monitor the situation in Ukraine and be prepared to take necessary steps to protect Russia's interests and maintain its influence in the region. However, it is uncertain how such conflicts will affect Russia's Ukraine policy and shape Putin's role in the region.